to your Flow and Restore. If we have never met before, I am Dom. Such a pleasure to get to be here in class with you today. The way that the class flows is that for the first half, about 30 to 35, 40 minutes, we are moving, we're getting some flow happening in the body, getting a little bit more heat and fiery-ish. And then the second half of the class, the last 20 to 25 minutes is dedicated to a really, really delicious Savasana, the kind of Savasana that you really make a deluxe version of, that you really have time to sink into. And so we're sort of honoring multiple sides of a practice, not just the flowing and moving and getting things going, but then also the taking time for your nervous system, which is really important. Today's restorative shape is going to be more of a back bend, but it's going to be a back bend in that your body will be on the floor and your hips will be up. So instead of you leaning back and over something, we will be sloping down to the floor. So know that that's sort of the shape we're in for. You don't have to take it if you don't want to. You're always welcome to sort of freestyle. And that goes for the whole class. If there's anything that we're doing together that feels like it doesn't really make sense in your body and there's something else you would rather be doing, please take everything as a blueprint and feel free to do what you want to do. So in saying that, props that you're going to need for the restorative portion, grab as many pillows and blankets and different sizes of pillows and blankets as well. I find is helpful, especially if you're using household items like I am as well. These are couch cushions. These are like just little pillows and then some blankets. So please feel free to start to collect those things if you'd like. As far as props go for class, if you like to practice with blocks and you have some available, please feel free to grab them for yourself. I kind of tuck these out of the frame for you. If you feel like you want to keep a blanket handy, I do think it's a good idea. Then it's just sort of available if you want to support your knees at all. It's really, really great for that. Any of that sort of stuff. So I'm going to keep a blanket handy. It's also nice to sit yourself up on if you want a little bit of a boost. So keeping a blanket handy, let's come to standing. Let's meet standing today, yeah? And can we sort of give ourselves a little bit of a shakeout? If you've had class with me before, this is something we sometimes do, and it can start at your hands if that feels good, and then maybe it sort of jiggles into your knees, maybe into your chest, maybe your head. Shake, 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 and it might feel silly, and that's totally fine, because we're literally shaking up the energy. Can you maybe start to bounce a little bit on your mat, if that makes sense? Maybe get a little out of breath. And then slowly start to bring the bouncing down. Maybe your hands can come up over your head, maybe behind you. And if you're in your own home, you can be as silly as feels good to you. And then slowly bringing it down to a bit of stillness. Placing yourself on your mat, however feels like your most favorite space. I have a friend who I met when I did my first yoga teacher training, and she likes to practice starting off of her mat and then taking a very profound moment to step on and take space. And so if that's something that you feel like you want to practice, whether it's the physical act of stepping or being, and right out of the gate, that feeling of, I'm taking space now. This is my practice. Feels good to say that even. As we inhale, can we inhale to reach those arms up? And then not making it too precious, can you just exhale, let those arms reach wrap and around behind you. Inhale to reach it up. Maybe the elbows bend as they exhale, circle back behind you. As you inhale, maybe that head nods a little bit, allowing the chest to shine up and forward as those arms reach back for just a little hint of a back bend. Inhaling to reach down and around. Exhaling back behind you. 2 more here. Inhaling. Exhaling back and open. Just sort of teasing a little bit of movement here. Inhaling. And exhaling it back. Arriving standing tall. Really nice and gentle. Just a little standing twist. We're going to twist ourselves around. So your left hand can come to your right hip. Right hand can come to your hip behind you. It can come down behind you as well. And can we just think nice tall thoughts? Your left hand is welcome to come down. If you'd like, those arms can start to reach out like a T. And now as your upper body is rotated, your hips are trying to fight to face forward, or I shouldn't say fight, challenge to face forward. Take one more breath in here. And then exhale, bring those arms down. Standing nice and tall. Little switch to the other side. Right hand to left hip. Left hand can come to your hip behind you, or it can come back down, whatever feels good. Thinking nice tall thoughts. Spiraling through the waist, but the hips are facing forward. So there's a really gorgeous moment here where you can start to ignite through your core, because your obliques are what's rotating you here. If you'd like to, you can take those arms and reach them and just feel how that added reach of the arms maybe accentuates some of this rotation. Taking one more breath in. Exhale, the arms come down. One more circle with those arms. Inhale, they reach up. Exhale, drape down back behind you. Take a little pause looking at your feet. Can you lift your feet up so that your toes lift off of the floor and give them like a little wiggle? Give them a little scrunch up here. It's kind of funny. Can you give your toes like a little wave? Throwing myself off balance. And then maybe your big toe lowers down. And then maybe just your second toe. And then maybe just your third toe. Maybe just your fourth toe. My fingers are doing funny things as I'm trying to do this. Anybody else? And then your fifth toe. Planting down through those feet, letting your arms come down beside your hips. Tadasana. We are here taking space. Inhale, the arms reach up. As we breathe out, we're going to melt down and forward in space. Keep a pretty generous bend of your knees here. Inhale to come up halfway. And then exhale to melt forward and pause. Now, at any time, if being below your head below your heart is feeling not fabulous, please feel free to stay up halfway, right? This is where you get to sort of customize to what your body needs. Inhale to come up halfway again. Exhale, we fold forward again. Pedal out through those legs. Maybe give your head a gentle little shake. Few more like this. Inhale to come up halfway. Now, as you come up halfway, we're just going to troubleshoot for a second. Can we make sure those ribs are drawn in and feel like we're spreading our tailbone? Oh, excuse me. Spreading our tailbone open behind us. So there's this really gorgeous moment of lengthening, and then we melt down and into it. Take a little pause. Maybe it would feel nice for your legs to give your hamstrings and hips a little rub with your hands. 2 more. Inhale up halfway. There's a little moment where my glutes go cha-ching and pull me up. And then exhale to melt it forward. One more time. Inhale, lengthen out and up. Exhale forward and then pause. Can you take those feet and walk them so they're wider than they currently were, but they're still going to stay parallel. And we're just going to bend back a little bit. So it's going to feel kind of like, I feel like I could play football now. Not that I've ever played football in my life, but this is how this feels. And so with those feet a little bit wider, can we just sort of shake our hips side to side? And you might get a full straight leg here. You might not. I have pretty short legs, so I can make it happen, but that might not be what's happening in your body. And then pausing at center, we're just going to stick our bum out and back. Now press all 10 of those toes down, zip into your belly and find that nice long line again. We're going to be working through a fair bit of knee flexion today, which is knee bending. And I just want to make sure that we can be in this shape feeling kind of supported, yeah? So we're going to do a little bit of squatting here. You're going to lift yourself up just a little bit to hover. And can we feel like that's happening from the glutes? And then lower yourself back down. Squeeze your bum. There's like a little smiley part of your cheek there. And that little smiley part is like an elevator. It lifts you up. And then we lower back down. Little smiley cheek lifts us up. Now my legs are still pretty parallel here. If your knees are really not about this, you can turn your toes out a little bit. So you're more of like a turned out squat instead of parallel. We're going for 3. Little elevator squeeze. Lowering it back down for 2. Little elevator squeeze to lift you up. Belly stays toned. One more time. Little elevator squeeze. Lower down. Walk your feet back into parallel. Melt over those legs. Inhale to come up halfway. Exhale to melt it down. Press your feet through the floor as we roll our spines all the way up. Reach those arms up overhead and then continue their circle back behind you. Standing up nice and tall. All 10 toes pressed to the floor. Inhale to reach the arms up. As we breathe out, melting forward and down over those legs. Inhale to come up halfway. Exhale to melt it down. You're going to keep your feet nice and parallel and close. You're going to stick your bum back again. Find that smiley elevator squeeze and then bring yourselves up. So our knees are nice and parallel over our toes. Again, feeling what this flexion feels like. Thinking about that little elevator smiley bum cheek moment. And you're going to lift up just a little bit. Now, maybe the elevator bum squeeze thing doesn't make any sense to you, and that's fine. Maybe it's preferred to think about pushing your feet into the floor. And the action of pushing your whole foot into the floor allows your hips to lift up just a little inch. Now, depending how spice-orama you're feeling today, maybe those arms reach forward as you're doing these little pulses. Belly is definitely staying active so we don't bear into our lumbar, into our low back. And so that means as you exhale, as you lift up, we want to think about that pelvic floor drawing up as well. Hands could also be at your heart. They could be at your hips. We're going for 4. Feeling that full foot press into the floor, yeah? For 3, so not just your heels, the whole foot. Goes all the way up to the sides of the glutes. For 2. Last 1, and then can we keep the energy in our legs? We're going to slowly lower, slowly lower, slowly lower, slowly lower. You're going to go as low as you can. Now, if that's not in your range, that's fine. Be where you are, and then can you push through your feet? Stand yourself all the way back up. Reach those arms up overhead. They circle back behind you. Inhale, the arms reach up. As we exhale, melting forward and down. Inhale to come up halfway, hands to thighs or shins, whatever feels good. Exhale to melt it down. Can we step back and lower down to our knees? So we're on hands and knees now. Pressing your hands into the floor. So spread those fingers wide, melt from your finger pads to the heels of your hands. Now, can you look at your arms, and whatever your full range is whatever your full range is. That's fine. But can we squeeze our arm muscles? Feel what it feels like to have tension there. Relax those arm muscles and notice that that doesn't feel like very much. And then push the floor away and squeeze into those arm muscles. Push, 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 squeeze, 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 squeeze. And as you squeeze into your arms, we're drawing our shoulder blades down. We're pushing the floor away. 2 more. Release those arms. And then push the floor away and squeeze, 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 squeeze. You're trying to turn on every single muscular moment in your arms. Push the floor away. Shoulder blades down your back. Ribs are in. 1 more time. Take a wee little break. And then we push and squeeze. Now, as you push and squeeze, if you would like to add on from there, keep the tension in your arms. Maybe your knees lift to hover. Maybe you scooch your knees back to find a kneeling plank. Maybe you lift up into a full plank. But wherever you are, do not lose that tension in your arms. That's your tip-top priority. We're going for 3. We're going for 2. Maybe your knees hug into the midline. Last 1. We're gently going to bend the elbows and lower ourselves down to the floor. Flip your toenails so your pedicure side of your foot finds the floor. Walk your hands a little bit wider and tense your fingers. As you inhale, we're going to roll the shoulder blades onto the back, and they act as a bit of a lever to lift just your sternum up, and then exhale to melt it forward. Inhaling to draw it up, push those toenails to the floor, roll it down. Being as slinky-like in our spines as we can here, still using tension and integrity through the arms. 2 more. Melting it forward. 1 more time. Bringing it out and up. Exhaling down. Plant through those hands. Now we're going to reverse our way up. So pushing into the floor. See if you can squeeze the arms from here. Shoulder blades on the back. And then can you push up and find that optimal tension? Squeezing through those arm muscles. Push the floor away. Fire into your glutes. And then when you're ready, lift it up and back downward dog. Now, we just worked so hard on finding all that musculature in our arms. Don't lose it here, yeah? Sometimes we can think about downward dog as like a resting place, but let's not let it be like a nap time resting place. Let's let it be like an active home base. Pedaling out through those feet. Take a nice big breath in. Exhale through your mouth, sigh it out. Push, push, push the floor away, squeezing through those arms. Feeling all 10 finger pads into the floor. Can we lift our heels, bend our knees, look forward, and then teeny tiny little steps all the way up to meet our hands. Inhale to come up halfway. Exhale to melt it forward, push that floor away. And as we do our elevator bum cheek moment, brings us up. Reach those arms up overhead. Circle them behind you. Bring your hands to center. Big breath in. Breath out. Now our legs are maybe squeezing together. Maybe they're a little bit apart. Maybe they're wide apart. Whatever feels good for you. Whatever of those stances made the most sense, can we bend into our knees more? Push your feet into the floor. So one of those 3 stances, holding it here. And then wherever you are, you're going to make your way into a kneeling lunge with the right leg back. So this is tricky. Yeah, don't get there right away. We're going to go together nice and slow. So if your feet are wide, you might have to walk them in. We're going to take the right leg, reach it back. We're going to slowly descend down to the floor. Nice job. If you'd like to roll up your mat, please feel free to roll up your mat. Now squeeze into that right bottom cheek. Let's reach those arms up overhead. Gorgeous work here. Now we're hugging those legs in tight, 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 tight. We're lifting up and out of our chests. We're firing into that back bum cheek. Maybe it feels reasonable. That back left hand is going to reach out and away as we find a bit of rotation here. Maybe that left hand circles down towards the floor, lifts up, and then reach up and back behind you. If we've taken class together before, you'll know that I love anything where we can like really start to spiral through the body. It's my absolute faves. One more time, reach up and back. Bring that leg in. Arms reach up. Let's plant the hands, but then I would like us to pause here. Can you hug the legs in? Okay, so super active. We're hugging the legs in. You're going to walk your hands over to the right, and we're going to start to pivot. And as we pivot, we're going to turn out through that right foot. So right heel is on the floor, right toes are lifted. Instead of being parallel, we've walked our hands over to the right. We've turned it through the left toes a little bit. So my left toes are looking to the top corner of my mat. My right leg is reaching, and I'm zipping, zipping, zipping. Now, if you wanted to bring this upright, you could. If you want blocks, you can. If you hate this, find a squat. Now, if you have the range in your left leg, maybe we can challenge lowering down, squeezing that bum cheek to lift up. That right quad is super, super zipped. Push it up. Now, again, if you do not love this single leg situation, and you might not, let's plant through both feet. And you're going to find more of an open leg squat, right? Which is something that we looked at before. Lowering it down. Push that foot and lift up. Oh, my right leg is shaking. Let's go for 3. Push the way. Find that smiley part of your bum cheek that lifts, and that whole thing is going to lift you up. For 2, / push that left foot through the floor. Now, as low as you can. If you're in your 2 feet squat, you're going to get low, you're going to hold. If you're in your one-legged situation, can you control the descent? Hug the right heel in. Zip up the right quad. Left foot to the floor. Feel the shape. We're going to pivot ourselves however you'd like to get there. Back into your lunge. Step back, find your plank. Now, we've been here before. Remember, knees down or quadruped or full plank. We're pushing the hand through the floor. We're squeezing through the arms. We're drawing the rib cage in. The glutes are nice and strong. Take one more breath in and then gently pull yourself to the floor. On your inhale, you can go into a little baby cobra if you'd like, or if you have your full extension there, go for it. And then up and back, downward dog. Big breath in, please, team. Exhale it out. 2 more breaths, breathing in. Remember, we're active here. It's not a break. It's not a rest stop. It's more of a home base to check in on where everything is lining up. Can you inhale to reach your right leg up? And then as you breathe out, pull your right leg in and plop your right foot to the outside of your right hand. Maybe your left knee finds the floor. So right foot is turned to the outside. We're going to hug those legs in. Walk your left hand towards the middle of your mat. So your right hip is hugging back, your left hip is hugging forward. Maybe you place the right hand on that right thigh and you can rotate through your spine. Now, once you have found that range, gorgeous experiment. If you were to take your hand away, if you were to take your bottom hand away, could you keep that range? Yeah, so we're trying not to collapse into our body. We're trying to like turn on as many things as possible. If this is feeling really fabulous, keep charging the back thigh, lift it up off of the floor, and maybe that right hand comes to open up. Now, if this is feeling fabulous, you want to spice it up, you're going to lift and you're just going to hover. So don't come up all the way. My bottom hand is hovered off of that floor. You're trying to open and spiral, drawing in through your ribs. Different layers here of the cake. Pick which layer you'd like to hang out in. For 3. For 2. We're going to descend back down. So popping the left hand on the floor, dropping through that back knee. Take your back hand, spiral it forward. We're going to lift up through that back thigh, and then we're going to step it wide of our left hand. So now we're in that wide squat. Isn't it awesome when things are like repeating patterns, and we're like, oh yeah, I see how this works here. Melt yourself forward. Give yourself a little sway. Release any tension through your head, neck, shoulders. And then bending your feet through the floor, rolling yourself all the way up. Reach your arms up to the ceiling. Circle those arms back. Walk your feet back in. Take a breath in to be here. Take a breath out to be here. Maybe your legs are squeezing. Maybe they're a little bit wider. Maybe they're a little bit wider than that. But staying and reminding yourself of your plank setup. Let's bend down. And so truly, if you were to sort of like ignore what's happening from the pelvis down, everything from the pelvis up is exactly what you would be, the same shape you would be in a plank. So that's what we want to think about as we're here. Drawing those ribs in, allowing the rib cage to draw down, pelvic floor drawing up. Arms could be lifted up, arms could be towards your heart, hands could be to your hips. Now feeling those full width of the feet stepping down. If it feels possible, putting a little bit of extra weight on that right leg and then stepping back with the left, we slowly descend down to the floor. Nice job here, team. Again, you can fold up your mat if you would like to, so you have some padding for your knees. Let's hug those legs in really nice and stable, yeah? If I was being a drama queen about this, this is my actual range. If I were to just sit, however, when I turn on my muscles, it's actually a lot more active and so much more, I want to say efficient, but it's not. It's actually really inefficient in a good way, which I will explain another time, I promise. Back bum cheek is on, front hip is hugging back. Maybe we reach those arms up. Maybe you want to stay upright. And maybe that right arm wants to open out for a bit of a rotation. And as we rotate, not letting go of that back bum cheek or that front hip, allowing that arm to maybe circle down to the floor. And then it lifts up and it circles open. Down towards the floor. Whew, legs is shaking. Open it out. One more time. Circling it open. And then bringing it out. Nice job. If you'd like to bring those arms up, you can. And then we're going to bring those arms down. So giving those legs a nice little squeeze here, feeling that full foot planted on the floor. Have to remind myself what we did on the first side. So let's all just keep like squeezing into our bum and having such a good time. Let's lift up through that back thigh and give it a nice extra squeeze. Woo. See, this is where if I was teaching live, someone could be like, hey, Dom, this is what we did. And I'd be like, okay, you know what? We're going to freestyle and we're just going to like trust and know that I love you very much. And if we miss something, it'll come back to me. Let's take that front leg and step it back into your version of a plank. Maybe those knees hug down. Let's feel nice and long through our spines, turning on those arm muscles and then lowering down to the floor. Pulling yourself up into whatever cobra feels good for you. And then lengthening up and back into your downward dog. Take a nice big breath in. Exhale it out. Let's take that left leg, reach that left leg up in space. And then pull the left leg forward, step the left foot down, and then pause. So opportunity here, and that left foot is going to go to the outside of the left hand, yeah? So opportunity here to always put that back knee down if you would like to keep the energy really nice and hugged in towards center. You could always lift the back thigh right out of the gate, right now that you know where we're going. That right hand is going to scoot towards the center. Oh, I remembered what we missed. Don't worry, I'm going to get there. Right hand is going to come to the floor. We're going to spiral through our chests and reach that left arm up. Like really the whole fun squatty bit, as if we can miss that on this side. Push that floor away, keep your spiral, and then maybe the back thigh hovers. With the back thigh hovered, maybe those fingertips lift as well. Whew, so much harder on this side for me. And then maybe they come down. Bring your hand to center. Okay, here we go. So we're going to find ourselves in that lovely bit of a squat situation again, yeah? So up to you. Okay, here's how we're going to do this. We're going to step back into our downward dog. We're going to step our right feet forward, but I'm going to flip on my mat. Ta-da! So right foot is forward again. We're going to walk our hands around to the left, and we're going to pivot ourselves. So your right toes are to one corner, and then your left foot is flexed, left heel on the floor. Whew. Gorgeous. Now again, if bending into this right knee and putting load on your left heel doesn't feel fabulous, feel free to not do that, right? Finding a two-legged squat here would still be super, super fabulous. We're working stability through our pelvis, through our legs, that work of our inner thigh, which you can all do from here. Maybe you're happy focusing on one leg at a time. Hand can come to hips. Now, this is not sitting in our joints, right? This is like super active work. So right thigh is drawn up, left thigh is drawn up. We're hugging heels into the midline. Maybe you can bend down. Maybe you push that right foot into the floor. My legs are shaking. Bending through the right knee down, zip up through that thigh. Push the floor away, zip it up tall. 2 more. Bending low. Notice your knee goes over your toes as long as that feels comfortable in your knee. That's totally fine. 1 more time. Bend it down. Push it up. Now here's where we test our range. If you're 2 legs, you're going as deep as you can go. If you're 1 leg, you're going as deep as you can go, but keep hugging everything in. We're not hanging out here. We're going to fire through the bum. We're going to push ourselves all the way back up. However makes sense for you, you're going to pivot towards the top of your mat. I'm going to turn back to my center, yeah? And then we step back. Let's find a downward dog. That was definitely not pretty and organized, but we got there, yeah? Take a nice big breath in through the nose. Exhale it out through the mouth. When you're ready, lift your heels, bend your knees, look forward. Little baby steps up to meet your hands. Inhale to come up halfway. Exhale to melt over those legs. Push your feet through the floor as we bring ourselves all the way up in space. Right away, let's go all the way down. Simple sun style here, please. Inhale up halfway. As we exhale, let's step back, find whatever version of a plank works for you. That could be hands and knees. That could be in more of a kneeling plank. It could be in a full plank. Non-negotiable. You're pushing the floor away and we're squeezing through the arms. Like you could literally take your hands and poke your arm muscles and they would be like steel. They're so solid. Push the floor away, draw your hands wide, hug heels of hands down towards your knees. Knees and toes or whatever's connected to the floor is also trying to hug in as you squeeze those arm muscles for 3, for 2, for 1. Draw your chest forward in space. Let's lower to the floor. Inhale to find a back bend of your choice as you flip through those toes. As you exhale, you're welcome to roll yourself up, slide yourself back, push yourself up into a downward dog. Take a nice big breath in here, please, for me, friends. Exhale it out. Drawing your collarbone in, lengthening through your tail. Paddling it out. Little hip waggle side to side. And then let's walk those feet about halfway. Bringing your hands back the other half. Walking those feet wide again. Last little bit of squatting. Although I would love to call it something else. Maybe we'll call it like goddess leg strengthening or something like that. Bringing yourselves all the way up. So legs are out. Sitting your bum back. Weight is in your full foot here. Taking a moment to feel maybe long through the arms. Maybe hands to chest. Maybe hands to hips. Lowering down a little bit. And then lowering down a little bit. And then lowering down a little bit. And maybe you have some range here to plop down. Let's give those legs a little bit of a shaky shake at the bottom. And then we're going to lie all the way down on our backs. So making sure here that there's no extra props, like no blankets or anything behind your head here, please, unless you like absolutely feel like you need it, because we're going to be lifting our hips up. So in the spirit of turning on our arm muscles on top of everything else we're doing, can you drive your elbows into the floor and squeeze your arms? Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Shoulder blades on your back. Now keep squeezing. Find your feet and gently start to scoop and roll and lift those hips up. Taking a pause at the top here, keep squeezing through those arms and see if you can find that full foot again. Now you want to make sure at the top here that your pelvis isn't tilting or tipping in any sort of funny business kind of a way. We want to keep those hips up. We want to lengthen through the front of the waist, the front of the hips. Now this is not an opportunity to really push your spine up. Not today, not here, please. We want to actually draw those rib cages in. Now, if it feels reasonable, maybe you stick your bum out, lower your hips just a little bit to the floor, and then exhale, push to lift up. Inhale to lower just a little, feet through the floor, push to lift up. We're going for 3, push to lift. We're going for 2, feet through the floor to lift. One more time, feet through the floor to lift. Now, can you keep squeezing your glutes? Maybe you reach your arms up, squeeze, 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 squeeze everything. Take those arms back behind you. Allow them to find the floor, palms up, and then roll yourself one vertebrae at a time down to the mat. Give your hips a little rock side to side. When you're ready, those arms can come down. You can collect your legs in space. And then if you'd like to let those legs rock over to the right, please feel free. Left arm reaches up overhead. Taking a breath in. Taking a breath out. Letting your breath now be a space for ease. A space for reflection. When you're ready, bringing those legs up in space. And then let's take them to the other side. Maybe wherever you are, you can hear some birds chirping outside. And then those legs can come back in space. Now, just in the keeping with the theme of our hips here, if you'd like to draw your legs in, we're going to bend through our knees to create as much of a 90-degree angle as makes sense for your body. And then you're going to sort of take those legs a little bit wider so they're more shoulder distance. And whatever you can grab a hold of, it could be your ankles, it could be your calves, it might be behind your thighs, to just sort of start to hug those legs down into a happy baby. Maybe your range is up towards your pinky toes. But I, again, don't want us to sort of like sit in compression here. I want us to resist up. So wherever you're drawing into, could you feel like you're pushing something away? It's obviously a little bit easier if you actually have hold of something to feel that energy of pushing, but it's not impossible if you can't. You want to hug your legs down and then feel like they're pushing away from you. And we're finding that space for 3, for 2, for 1, and then let those legs come in. Starting to find our way to our restorative shape. You're welcome to roll over to one side. Oh, I'm going to sneeze again. Oh, sorry, excuse me. So we're collecting up blankets and pillows. Now, the first thing that I always do when setting up, and I encourage you to do as well, is whatever space you are on, even if you're on carpet, is to find a blanket and pop that on the floor first. Now, we're not building with any blocks here. It's all cushions. So I feel fairly safe in the structure of this, that I don't have to worry about blocks sliding. If you are ever using blocks in restorative, just make sure that they're not resting on the blanket. It gets a little precarious like that. We're going to take your biggest cushions, and that's where your legs are going to go. So sort of decide where you would like the top part of your body to be. My top half is going to be over this way by the big money tree plant, and my feet are going to be down here. So that's step 1. And we do want this to be a bit higher, right? Because we're creating a bit of a slope. Step 2 is going to be to pop something that's about halfway. And that's going to be for your hips. Now, I say halfway to start, but it's always nice to have things handy, because you might decide that you want like less or more, all those things. Now, because we're putting our hips up above our head, we are not going to be putting anything behind our actual head here. If you feel like you need neck support, grab a towel, roll up the towel, and just pop it in that little nook of your cervical spine, but it's not going to our cranium, yeah? To get onto this, I would love for us to sit on the part that our hips are going to be onto. Bring your legs around. And then just feel what that feels like. Ooh, love me a back bend. Feel what that feels like to start. Now, I feel like I kind of want this a little bit higher. So I'm going to take my legs off, roll over to one side, and I'm going to pop another blanket up where my legs are. So my knees are going to be up a bit higher, yeah? And another one where my hips are. So it's just going to increase the slope. Now, you could completely do this without anything behind your hips at all, and it would be more of like a lifted leg Savasana. And at that point, if your hips are on the floor, feel free to zhuzh up your head as much as you want to. So I'm sitting on the part with my hips. I'm bringing my legs around. And then I'm going to bring myself back. Ooh, that was a little bit heavier. Oh, yeah. That's the good stuff right there. So what we want to make sure is that your ankles are supported as well. Now, I have fairly short legs, so these couch cushions cover the range of my knee to my ankle, but that might not be your case. And if you do need to find more, please just don't leave your ankles hanging, yeah? We want to make sure that we're supporting every single part of our body that's on the floor, which is why we've put this blanket here, yeah? So that you're not just like cushioning everything from the pelvis down and then leaving your upper body just like on scratchy carpet. Your arms are welcome to be wherever you want them to be. They could rest on your body. They could come back overhead. But I encourage you to not feel like wherever you place yourself that you have to stay there, because you might find after a few minutes that your body doesn't actually want to be there. Now, what my plan of action is here is that we're going to be in this back bend for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to come out and adjust ever so slightly. Same sort of shape, but just less lifting up, yeah? So your pelvis will come down, and we'll spend a little bit of time there as well. All of that to say that if there's anything you would rather be doing, or if there's a shape you would rather be taking, please know that it's your practice. Final little bit of goodness here is once you have decided you are happy with your shape, you can go ahead and grab a blanket if you would like to, and give yourself a little tuckity tuck. I will also say that even if you're feeling toasty, your body will cool down fairly quickly. And so you might find yourself desiring a little bit of blanketing in your practice still. Starting to slowly arrive in the shape that you've chosen. So I have my thighs, my legs are the highest thing, or I should say my shins are the highest thing. And then I have my hips underneath lifted up, not quite as high, but about halfway. And then my head is resting back behind me. And although we're not lifting up through our heads, if you want to take a towel and pop it underneath your neck for a bit of support, that's totally fine. Arms can rest wherever. Taking your breath in. Breathing it out. Inhaling in. Exhaling out. Starting to allow your breath to encourage more softness into the space behind you. Notice the parts of us that are happy to hold on to tension, even when we're ready to let them be a bit softer. That often means through our pelvis, through our hips, through our eyes, like actual intensity of the gaze under our eyes, as well as the space in between our eyebrows. It could be your jaw. So taking just a little bit of time to sort of nuance these things into softness. Noticing with your breath if it's allowing you over time to soften a little bit deeper. If you feel like you prefer to have sound in your restorative practice, please feel free to pop something on. But if you've never practiced in silence, I offer you the opportunity to play with that. Taking a few more minutes here before we transition into our second shape. Noticing if your breath allows you to drop a little bit deeper. Knowing that even in the silence, I'm still here. Noticing if there's anywhere that breath is being held in your body. And in that, is there an opportunity to draw it out, to offer it some safety and some permission to travel, to expand, to release. As you've spent a little bit of time here, if there's anything you can do to offer yourself even a smidgen more comfort, please feel free to do that. Taking your inhales in and offering your exhales out. If you're super duper happy where you are and you would like to remain here, please know that that's a fabulous option. If you're feeling like you'd like to explore another shape, don't move just quite yet, but starting to let this idea of movement happening just arrive in your body. So we're not trying to shock ourselves out of this really relaxed state. We want to give ourselves a little bit of time, our nervous system a little bit of time to prepare. Neighborhood watch is out today. And when you're ready, you can maybe start to add a little bit of movement, a little bit of a squeeze of the toes or a movement of the hands. Maybe a little zhuzh side to side of your head. Maybe when you're ready, starting to bend your knees and plant your feet on your surface and gently rolling over to one side, bringing yourself up when you're ready. Now, if you would like to, you're going to take the hip pillow supports away. You're going to take a chunk of your leg supports away. So now it's just your legs lifted up. And if it feels suitable for whatever was underneath your hips to be behind your head, I'm going to ditch one of those. So I've just got two. So this is essentially the height of like a bedroom pillow. Now just resting on my back, snuggling up. If you've practiced this shape with the little bit of a head tuck, a little trick here is that if you have like multiple layers, you're going to pull the bottom layer so it supports your shoulders. And then the top layer is going to come underneath your head. And that top layer, we're going to start to fold in on itself. Give it a little tuckety tuck tuck so that your head has a little nest. So good. So you're settling into your practice, and as you're settling into this second shape, and allowing yourself the gift of support. Now I'm gently going to bring myself up to offer just a little bit of space holding, as well as playing some chimes. If you feel like you would like to just stay in your shape for much longer than exiting practice together, then again, please feel free to indulge. But if your hope is that we close practice together, I will be doing that as well. As you've spent a little bit more time in this shape, if there's anything else you need to do to make yourself more comfortable, go for it. Offer yourself that gift. If your desire is to close together, consider starting to come back to your breath. Feeling how it travels in the body and if there's more space in the body for it to travel through. If you'd like to start to add a little bit of a wiggle in your fingers and toes. If you'd like to add a yawn or a stretch or an extra bend of the knees. Without trying to be too precious and controlled about it, allowing the legs to melt over to one side, taking a pause on your side body. And only when you're ready, starting to think about bringing yourself upright. And upright can be many things. It could be seated, kneeling, standing. And if it feels appropriate to close your eyes, please feel free. And if that doesn't feel great, you're welcome to just keep your gaze down, letting your hands fall wherever feels organic. I feel like self-care is something that sort of gets thrown around a lot. And I've sort of moved into a space where I'm not really interested in rules for things. I mean, yes, and to some degree, but I'm really much more interested in how do I relate to these words and experiences. And self-care is something that I think was a bit of a struggle. I felt like, or sometimes it can feel like there's a box and these are the things that fit in the box. And if you want to participate, you go into that box and that's what you choose. But that box isn't designed by you. It's designed by things and people and whatnot. And I had a teacher that once shared a story that her teacher had passed on to her about how if we sort of stop imagining ourselves like boxes and one dimensional and all those and whatnot, and think of ourselves as a fountain. And in order to be overflowing so that people can drink from that fountain, there are just some basic things that have to happen. There has to be a good water supply. The water has to be clear and drinkable. Maybe there are some lights lighting up the fountain too, and then you have the whole electrical business. And so, if we are a fountain, then whatever it is you need to do for your fountain to be overflowing, to be drinkable, to be lit up, is really up to you. And so, taking time to gift yourself a practice whose goal it is to give you drinkable, clean, lit up water is pretty special. If you'd like to place a hand over your heart or heart center, second hand over that, gently bowing in. I thank you so much for trusting me with your class blueprint, especially as movement might be part of your self-care package. Thank you for taking time for you. Thank you for taking time with me. I so enjoy being able to connect in this way And so I hope you can carry your practice with you for the rest of your day or evening or whatever it is you're doing. May we meet again with our fountains overflowing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.